In his State of the Nation address last night, the president cited a report published this week on the unrest. It showed that several government bodies had failed to identify threats to the public and keep members of the Republic of South Africa safe. As a result, the country will be embarking on a major police recruitment drive to employ some 12,000 additional officers and introduce several other measures to guard against violence and social unrest, similar to that experienced in Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal during the unrest in July of last year. For more on this, we're joined by police expert and author Ziyanda Stuurman. Always a pleasure to be in conversation with you. Thank you very much for joining us. So we spoke a few weeks ago about South Africa having thousands less police officers than they did in 2010. This announcement by the president yesterday doing something to satisfy your expectation?
I think that, we're essentially at a point where, as the president correctly pointed out, we have fewer police officers at the moment than we did at least 2 years ago. And much of that, obviously, owing to the COVID-19 pandemic and how incredibly difficult it has been, or nearly impossible, really, to sort of go through normal police recruitment and training procedures. So it's good that there's been this announcement that there'll be 12,000 new police officers recruited and trained, but the devil is always in the details. And I think the really difficult part of this conversation, at least, is the fact that typically in a year, SAPS is able to train around 7,000 new police officers. And so practically, I'm not sure how we're going to get to 12,000, almost doubling the training capacity in a very short space of time. So it's a good thing that the announcement has been made, but the practicability of that implementation is going to be, I think, a real challenge.
Add to that a lack of public trust, which is something that was pointed out by this expert panel report into the unrest in July. How much of a factor will this play? We can capacitate the police force, but if South Africans don't trust them, how then do we establish these community policing forums that he was suggesting yesterday?
Precisely. I think that you really created a really good link between a lot of the challenges that are both logistical and operational, but also largely societal and perceptive. I think that the CPFs and the CPF structures have existed for many years, within the South African police service. But at this point, I think what's really difficult is sort of rebuilding those connections and those lines of communication, at least, between CPFs and communities and the police itself. And it's not every CPF around the country, but there are certainly others that have broken down because they've been infiltrated or interfered with by local politicians and other sort of partisan interests. So at the same time as there being a need to have much better communication and community police relations, I think that just establishing CPFs doesn't really get to the heart of many of the issues in many local police stations.
I think it was yesterday or the day before we were speaking to Pop Crew, the policing union, on this shooting of a training nurse at Tembisa Hospital. He was outlining a number of issues faced by men and women in blue, chief amongst which, rather, is the issue of mental health, and not enough being done to address that, even though they have health and wellness programs that are there. So we have these police officers that we're putting into the police force, but are we creating an environment for them to first and foremost be mentally prepared for what it is that they're about to embark on?
Precisely. I think that's absolutely a factor, in the 24 months of training that police officers receive, but also very importantly for there to be strong psychosocial support mechanisms that are available for police officers when they're in the line of duty and when they face and they see really the worst of the country in terms of responding to violent crime and to other incidents. I think that a lot could be done to strengthen, as I said, those psychosocial support within the police, but also very importantly, connections made outside of the police system that allow police officers to, approach mental health professionals as and when needed, and other sort of structures. So it's really a holistic issue. And so it's not just about training, recruiting, and putting sort of warm bodies in police stations, but we have to really take a look at the system itself and how it works and where it is dysfunctional.
Thank you very much for availing yourself this afternoon. Always a pleasure. Author and police expert Ziyanda Stuurman.